This podcast is not a replacement for therapy. All conversations, guests, tips, recommendations, etc., that are discussed are provided as educational, thought-provoking, inspirational insights, and not specific professional therapeutic or psychiatric advice. Our views expressed are our own personal experiences, insights, and perspectives. Information heard here is to be used at your own caution and discretion. As always, please seek out your own mental and medical health care to best serve you.
Hi, Cuz.
Hey, Dee. How are you? I know you're very excited about today's topic.
Oh my gosh, I am. Because we're going to talk about sex, baby. I'm just kidding. We're talking about porn today, pornography. And a lot of people have a lot of different views about porn. We're going to touch on what porn use is versus porn addiction. We're going to talk about how porn affects intimate relationships, how, people view sex. So let's just kind of dive in. We have a couple of guests here with us today to talk about their experiences and, give their point of view. But before we get into that, we're going to, as always, talk about the stats. Going to talk about what porn is versus what porn use is versus what porn addiction is. So I'm going to hand it off to my cuz to give us a little insight on what is porn, cuz? What is it?
Well, you know me, the dry side of the duo. There's so many different definitions of porn.
Stop it. Stop it now.
Well, anyway, the dry side of the duo, as I was saying, there's so many definitions of porn, and we hear a lot about the abuse, and we typically come at it from a harm perspective. There's a legal, feminist perspective. I'm just going to stick with the psychological, which is pretty cut and dry. It's any sexually explicit material, written, visual, or otherwise intended to sexually arouse. It's existed for millennia, and today it remains widely available in books, magazines, and audio recordings, but it is most readily found and accessed online. Are you ready to go to the stats?
No, I just want to stop there for a second because, yes, I mean, based on what you're saying, porn is everywhere, right? Porn is everywhere. And I feel like along with, and I'll talk about addiction in a second, but I feel like, very similar to like alcohol addiction, it is very difficult when you have a porn addiction to try to get away from pornography because it is everywhere. Everywhere you look, and it's so easily accessible, just like alcohol, right? So go to any store, any restaurant, it's widely available, right? But I do want to say, like, there was something you mentioned when we were off recording about like the National Geographic and all that. Yeah. What were you saying again? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was saying that porn is hard to pin down, or if people have a discussion, we need to look at it and actually agree on what we're talking about, because the National Geographic could be pornographic if you're looking at, sexual organs being exposed. And then, even in this country, there's still conversations about women breastfeeding in public and really strong reactions coming from, this is pornographic. I don't need to see a woman's breast as she's nursing her child. And the dialogue between that. Also, between National Geographic, also the content of porn, whether it's hardcore or softcore, and even looking at the impact is the definition, is it defined like, is it explicit acts of rape and that type of dehumanizing, degrading of women versus, I don't know, an art? Lots of questions. So, yeah.
Rape and sex. So I'm going to say this, like one of the main reasons why, this topic, came to mind was that I have quite a few clients, well, some male clients, no female, which is interesting, but quite a lot of male clients coming in with the presenting problem of porn addiction. But then amongst my couples, quite a lot of issues surrounding porn use versus addiction. Like, so I saw, I've been seeing a lot of differences between like the couples who are struggling with a partner who has a porn addiction versus porn use, but very similar in that, even when it's, considered quote unquote healthy porn use, casual use is still causing issues and problems in the relationship. And so I was thinking, I want to look this up. Like I just went down a rabbit hole. I just started looking up so much stuff. And so I do want to just define porn addiction because, again, a lot of female clients were like, my guy is addicted to porn. He is always watching porn. This is ridiculous. I'm so tired of it. Like, I'm done with him. And I'm like, let's really delve into this and see if this is actually porn addiction. 9 times out of 10, it's not porn addiction. It's just casual use, but they are just uncomfortable because of the way it's affecting their sex life and their, intimacy. So I will say, if your partner has porn addiction, what you will typically see is that they will ignore their responsibilities just so they can go view porn. They will view progressively like more and more extreme pornography to get that same release or, less extreme. But and the reason why, just like with any other addiction, the reason why this is because it's almost like there's, you're chasing a high, right? And so you have to keep either viewing more porn or, more hardcore porn or whatever have you, because you're so desensitized at that point. You're trying to keep getting a rise out of yourself. And also, if you're seeing that they feel really frustrated or ashamed when they view porn, but then continue to do so, that's another sign. They want to stop using porn, but they feel unable to do so. They spend large sums of money on pornography, typically at the expense of themselves or their family. And again, when I say pornography, like not just videos and, OnlyFans is actually considered pornography too, but, not just OnlyFans, although I hear that quite often with my clients is like their partner spending, oh my gosh, like thousands. One couple was like, the guy was spending, she looked at the credit card. She was like, why is there a $10,000 credit card bill? And he was like, I don't know. I have no idea. Let me see. And she's like, what is it? What is OnlyFans? She had never heard of it. This was like maybe 5 years ago. She had never heard of it. And he's like, oh, I'll take care of that, babe. Don't you worry about that. And so she was like asking me, what is OnlyFans? Dries, what is this? And I'm like, let's just Google this. Let's just see what it is so you can see, what's going on. And she was just like, this is basically, so he's spending money on pornography. She was like, I don't understand how this works. How can you spend that much money? And I was saying that like the way that site is set up, sometimes you could spend it on one person. It could be multiple people, and again, if you have an addiction, you're trying to see more and more, expose yourself to more and more. So I don't even think he realized, especially since he was pretty shocked when he saw the bill too, that he had spent $10,000 in a month on OnlyFans. Also, webcams. Webcams are like, they are money grubbing. Like I could see someone spending easily $1,000 in a day on webcams, because you're constantly giving, tips and money, and tips and money is the same thing. Tips, coins, whatever it is, whatever that site is, you're constantly giving more and more and more money. Also, another sign is that they tend to use pornography to cope with sadness, anxiety, insomnia, or any other mental health issues. So again, just like with, substance abuse, when it's a porn addiction versus porn use, they basically will do anything and everything they can to be able to use porn, to watch porn. So going down that rabbit hole and seeing lots and lots of stats and information. So some of the stats I found was that 1 in 3 Americans seek out porn. 58%, and that's 58% of the American population, apparently. 70% being men, 30% being women. This one kind of made me really think. 90% of children ages 6 through 16 have viewed pornography. And the largest consumers of pornography, I'm going to say that one more time. The largest consumers of pornography are 12 to 17-year-old boys. I want to stop my stats for a second right there because I want to hear reactions. Are you surprised?
No.
No? Why you say no?
Because I feel like boys, the same reason your men are saying the main ones porn addiction. They look for it. They seek it out. They want to see it. Why you have so many female strip clubs, but not many male reviews or male strip clubs. That's their thing. It's flesh. So once they find out where it is, they go for it.
and
I'm gonna
with
add,
it on the internet.
Let me jump in on that too. Even before the internet, it seems like it's almost like a rite of passage with their sexual development. And they're seeking it out even before. Dude, I remember a mom saying how their little 4-year-old son would go to the Ebony or Jet magazine and look at the girl, Beauty of the Week, and he's 6 years old, just staring.
You're dating yourself, cuz. You are dating yourself.
Grandma, thanks for letting Grandma on.
Oh my God.
There are guys that are talking about how they were finding it under their dad's beds, or I found my dad's stash, and blah, 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 blah. So at first I wanted to be shocked and clutch my pearls, but it seems on brand.
But I mean, Sonic brings up a good point. They're inquisitive, right? They want to know. And at this point, with the internet, social media, it's in their face. They can get on TikTok and see things that are like pornographic.
There are cartoons that are pornographic.
Oh yeah, Netflix. Absolutely.
That are easily accessible.
I'm gonna say, cause that brought me back. You're saying how, guys will find a way. Even Jet Beauty of the Week. But I'm not gonna say who, just in case one day they ever listen to this podcast. But there's a person I know that when they were growing up, I would hear static. And during the static, and the TV is just pure static. You can't see anything. You just go in, and I just be, oh yeah. I'm what? Young, whatever, just seeing static. I'm what is going on? How? And when I think back on it, I'm what were you getting out of that? What were you? What?
I do believe that. So for me personally, I grew up in the time where you had to see through the static and everything. But you do remember I told you once that I personally don't watch porn for watching. I'm there to hear it. I do believe that it's because of through the static. I couldn't see nothing. So personally, I really believe that that's probably why the sounds itself. So yeah.
Because I was what you getting out of that? Like, you can't see, but you're right. A lot of people process like and you know, get off on just hearing, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to see, you could just hear. But it's like now they don't have to just like with the AOL, like they don't know the struggles that we used to go through to get to what we wanted to get to. But yes, like now just get on the internet and it's right there, right in their face. I think, let's see, what else did I see? 70% of men ages 18 to 34 visit a porn site in a typical month. I'm going to say, like, yes, I think just reading the stats, I was just like, wow. But I think it's mostly because, again, like, I'm not exposed to that world very much. Like, other than my clients, pretty much I'm just like, what's porn? What is that? Like, you know, unless I go down that rabbit hole, I'm not going to say anything about that right now. But
how was your research?
Somebody
learned some new stuff.
Rabbit hole one time.
Sorry.
And I listened, but learned about baby penises and like I was like, what is in these humongous clitorises that look like penises? I was like, okay, I went down the wrong hole. But again, there's so much stuff out there. I mean, it's everywhere. And I feel like I don't want to speak for people, but just in my observations with a lot of my clients, like, you know, they watch. A lot of them watch because it's available. It's in their faces right there. I had one client who was just like, you know, he got home from work and every day he got home from work, he'd just be sitting around and the house is quiet and he's like, let me just see what's on Pornhub. You know, it's just like, why is that the first thing? You're bored. You have nothing to do, but why is that the first thing you think? Like, why not go take a walk? And he was like, nah, because I was bored and it's there and it's available. It's, you know, why not whack one off? And he was like, sometimes he just gets on there just to watch. Like, he doesn't masturbate, just gets on to watch. I'm just like, okay. I mean, again, like this podcast is not meant to give any opinions or say that anybody's right or wrong and whatever they choose to do with pornography. This is just informational and educational and entertainment. Could throw that out there. Also, what was I think it said 1 in 6 women struggles with porn addiction. And oh my gosh, this $10 to $14 billion. I'm going to repeat that into the mic. $10 to $14 billion is spent on porn annually, the same amount that the U.S. government spends on foreign aid. And I'm not saying the government is spending $10 to $14 billion. I'm saying everyday people are spending $10 to $14 billion on porn.
But porn's free. Why are we spending money on this? I don't even understand.
Right? But that's the thing, because if you have an addiction, chances are you want to go into the OnlyFans, the webcams. You want private.
You want to dig in deeper. You want to know more, do more, see more. I understand.
Think about it. When it's free, not that I know that much, but when it's free, you only get like a 5-minute clip, right? Then you have to like put it all together. You know what I mean? So like,
I don't know what sites you're watching. I get hourly ones, so I don't know what you're watching. But I mean, I understand.
Do you have recommendations for us?
No. I don't really want to. No, I don't. But like the site that I use personally, they have millions and millions and millions of different things that you can watch. So for me to be, I mean, I don't have a sex addiction or a porn addiction, but for you to have to go through all those different things and still like, you know, within another year be like, I'm bored, I need to go further and go deep. That's crazy to me. Yeah. That site has so much stuff on it.
But that tells you something, you know, it's just like with addiction, it's not enough. And if you're getting on porn sites every day and you're spending hours on there, eventually you're going to make it through quite a lot of it, right? And you're going to get bored, especially since a lot of the, videos or whatever, it's like, I'm not even interested in that. I'm not saying me personally, but they might be not even interested in that, and there are some people who are just like, I just like to watch, BBWs, like Big Beautiful Women, which is a beautiful thing. Good job. But they just want to watch BBW, right? It's not a whole lot of that on the free sites, I assume. That it isn't as much, but so if you're looking for a specific thing, chances are you're going to want to use money, right? Because you want to get the specific thing that you want. I think that's, let's see, 40 million. Yeah. 40 million Americans are regular visitors to porn sites. 2 out of 3 men admit to watching porn compared to 1 out of 3 women. 70% of those men are between the ages of 18 through 24. 85% of people who watch porn watch between the hours of 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. Any more comments on those stats, ladies?
I do know that I'm sure that people watch porn at night because everybody else in the house is sleeping. So it's easier. Me personally watch porn in the morning because my kids are gone. So, I mean, yeah, I guess it makes sense to be watching at them times.
So, one thing that I guess really like stood out to me, which, you all were just like, yeah, that makes sense. Duh. Like kids are out there exposed to porn. They're watching porn. The one thing that I guess I'm going to say bothers me is that, because kids, I'm going to say teens, are exposed to porn at, so early during like, formative years. They're, just going through puberty and all that. Like they are absorbing it and they're believing that this is what sex is. This is what sex looks like. This is, what I have to expect, right? As they get older, they maintain all those beliefs. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't try to like open themselves up to learning more. They don't try to delve in. Like they just believe, they just take in more and more porn that just exacerbates their belief of what sex is and what women want and what intimacy is, right? That's
Do you
the
think
problem
it would
that I
be
have with it.
Do you think it would be helpful if parents talked to their kids at that time and said, listen, porn is like Fox News. It's entertainment.
Did you just say Fox News?
Yes, I did.
Absolutely.
I'm joking, but yeah.
But the problem is that kids that age, how many of them are listening to their parents? That's the other problem. It's like,
and I mean, you know how we as young ladies grew up on Disney princesses and we want that fairy tale love and everything like that. I feel like porn's kind of the same thing. They see that this man's going hard on this girl and she's pretending to have this orgasm and they're going in their head like, oh, okay, I gotta be as fast as hard as this dude's going. And they're thinking because she had that orgasm, they can make anybody have that orgasm. With the power of what they've seen on TV. So, I feel like a lot of kids are, I guess it's just, yeah, they're just seeing what they want to see. And I mean, no, I don't know what porn children have been watching or teens, but you're not really sitting there and watching a porn that's like, hey, ma'am, so how do you like it? Like nobody's asking these questions, right? Most of these porns just start and all of a sudden they're banging it out. You know what I mean? It's not really teaching anything, right? So
yeah, but it is teaching, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? It's like it's not teaching anything, but it is. It's teaching them that, oh, okay, if I go really hard on her, she's gonna come all over my face, and oh, I know if like she's making all these noises, I must be doing it right. Nobody's stopping to think that like, hello, they're fake. they're acting. I mean, I watched something on Netflix not too long ago. I can't remember the name of it, but like they had like quite a few porn stars on there, and they were talking about how like, you know, the entire thing, obviously they're acting, right? And how, you know, people don't see behind the scenes, but, you know, they're being placed and moved and, you know, told to be louder and, you know, moan harder, or, you know, wait till he does this, or wait till she does that, and do, you know, all of it is just like watching a movie, right? Watching Fast and the Furious, I'm just giving an example. Like, you know, none of that stuff is happening in real life, but it's like, for whatever reason, people watch pornography and they're thinking in their head that this is how it is. You know, this is what sex is, which again leads me to my problem of, and I'm going to talk about men right now because that's what I have the experience with, but like men having this view that, you know, because this is all I've filled my brain with, because again, our brains are sponges, that this is what sex looks like. This is how it is. This is how it should be, you know, and they don't learn how to make love. They don't learn how to be passionate. They don't learn how to be in the moment and be present. They're just focused on having sex or fucking, right? I said fucking like with a hard accent.
You did.
And a heart. My question for you is, where can boys learn how to make love?
Well, okay, that's the other
Or
thing.
young men.
Nobody's asking their partner, because everybody wants to be loved different. Every woman is not the same. So get off of your pride and your high horse and thinking that you know everything because you watch porn your whole life, or you've had like 50 million partners and none of them have been honest, because we know a lot of women don't tell men when they dick is small, when they suck at sex, or any of that stuff, right? Chill the fuck out, take a step back and say, baby, what do you want? What feels good to you? How do you want to make love to you?
Yeah. There's a question.
Was the last porn you watched called Fast and the Furious? Is that why you brought it up?
That's a very good question.
But like, I was dragged into watching that movie, and that's why, you know, like, where's Dwayne Johnson at? Where am I? But yeah, like, I'm just, it is frustrating to me seeing these couples come in and having to basically start from scratch, because porn has just warped, and I'm gonna say warped, the mind of all of these men believing that sex is one thing, you know, and it also takes them away from being able to be intimate with their partner, be fully passionate, be fully present. Does that make sense?
I would agree that, everybody, what were you going to say? You up top.
I don't think it's as one-sided as we make it, though. I think young women are warped by the same things, you know, like, we don't watch it as frequently, but I think that lack of confidence to tell your partner, hey, this is not it, is a part of our warping. Like, our expectation is the same thing. Like, well, she came from that. Why can't I squirt? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I? And so you accept it. Well, most accept it, like, in fear of maybe it's me. You know what I mean? I didn't come because I'm not doing something right, or I'm messed up. Like, I should have come from that, or, you know, so they go through the motions. Like I said, just because they have kind of been framed by the same ideas with porn, because nobody is sitting their kids down like, this is how you do it. And, you know, like, I don't know where it comes from, but, you know, even amongst my friends, when we talk about sex, yeah, like you said, your average woman is not going to tell the guy, hey, your penis was too small to satisfy me. Or, you know, like, Town is not as fun as you think it is. You know, it's like nobody is having those conversations in fear of either I'm the messed up one, or, you know, maybe it was me in general, like just assuming that, if she can come from it, then that's how you come, so I don't think young men are the only ones who are misguided by it. That's all.
I learned the other day, in my 40 long years of living, that, and like, I'm, Butterfly, I'm kind of like into a lot of stuff, so I know a lot of stuff. But the other day I learned that those girls aren't even squirting on the porn. I was so upset. So the direction is you drink a lot of water, and when they tell you to release, you pee on these guys. They're not actually squirting, right? So I was just like, my whole life's did I not send that text message, that video to you? I was like, my whole life is a lie. All this time I thought these girls are having maybe not the most amazing sex, but there were some guys out there that could do this for these girls.
Yeah.
No, it's been a lie the whole time.
As far as it's a real thing, though.
It is.
It is.
But I will admit that
the frequency in which we see it is not the real thing.
And I will say, I have seen somewhere, there's the way they squirt, it's just like, what are the liquid? How the fudge did you just project all of that? Because, little disclosure, when I squirt, it's like that. It's weird.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What the hell? Dang, are you?
And now you're thinking about it, it all makes sense, though, right?
This is what I'm talking about.
It just goes to show you that it's a distortion for men and women. And I'd say that there's a lot of pressure on both.
Yeah.
And we don't always realize that. And we don't know the pressure that men are under, where they're just like, I've got to perform. And they're so focused on that.
Gosh.
And look at porn and what is shown a lot of the times. Guys with big cocks, super huge, that are satisfying women. And it's all of these things. And it takes the intimacy out of love and sex.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
If that's your only input, I guess I'd add.
Sonda, thank you for making that point, because that is a very good point. Thank you also, Shay. You guys are right. Men are the only ones who get it work.
Don't be dogging on the men.
But they're not. I got no judgment for men. And when the
you pick some good guests, Butterfly.
This is only part one of the podcast. We're gonna have some men come in on part two and discuss their experience with porn and their views. And I'm gonna be all open ears for that, because I realize I probably have my own personal biases about porn, mostly because I've had so much exposure to porn addiction. And so I guess probably in my head I have more of a I lean more to the negative, because I see all of the issues that it causes in relationships with my clients. But I get it. Again, if you watch porn, there's no judgment. There's just things that I have a problem with when it comes to how porn has skewed, people's view. And I say people now, not just men, but men and women, their view of sex and what is, required of them, what's wanted of them, desired of them. So I just feel in general, what is the fucking point of porn? What is this use if it's skewing people's fucking mind on shit? If it's causing so many issues, why? Why do we even need it? Why do we even?
As Shay said, there's so many things that distort and skew people's minds. It's not just porn. So,
but I'm gonna say,
is it the substance or is it humanity?
Point. Why? Why do we have porn? If it's causing so many fucking issues, why?
I can only speak for me why I watch porn. I personally sometimes, I guess, need the inspiration of the noises and stuff like that to get me off. I think that that's always been for me. I might have been desensitized from since I was young too, because I found porn at the age of 6. So I personally like maybe was desensitized, and so that's what I need. Like if I'm gonna have sex with somebody, I sometimes watch porn before even going into having sex with somebody, because then I'm readying myself for it. So that's just personally me. I don't really know why people get addicted to it. It's not that great of a show. It's not like Young and the Restless, you know what I mean? It's not drama filled and ups and downs. It's just really same thing. So I don't really know how people can get addicted, but you know, everything's pretty much addicting these days. So
oh, absolutely.
I would say
if you have an addictive,
I'd say porn is part of humanity. And if you look at it historically, it's been around since there were naked cave drawings and paintings, and it's evolved. And in the 1500s. So it's what makes it probably very intense is the digital world that we live in and how it's everywhere at like the click of a finger.
Yeah. Maybe that's I feel like that's my problem. The availability of it and the way it affects, relationships. Like again, to each his own. You use porn. But like, I don't know, just the fallout of it, I guess. But I hear what you're saying about like how, like, especially if you aren't in a relationship, using it to satisfy yourself, that's obviously, yes, that is a necessity.
and on herself.
I feel like a lot of men that I've spoken to about this, they're single, and not in any not in any situationship. So they use it to, quickly, rub one out and then, move on with their day. But, again, the one thing I've noticed is that when they get into relationships, number one, if they continue to use it, it becomes a huge problem for their partner. In some cases, I have some clients who are just like, I don't care if I'm using porn. Like, I'll watch it with them. Like, it's not a big deal. But in other situations where, they're comparing themselves to the women in the porn, they're like, why do they watch that kind of porn? Like, that's not me. Like, I'm not BBW. Like, if that's what they want, then why are they with me? What?
I mean, it's like living vicariously through others. Like, I would say that, yeah, I watch porn just for the purposes of masturbation. I have never watched it with a partner, but I do realize I tend to watch porn unrelated to myself. Like, I might watch anal because that ain't what I'm doing out here. You know what I mean? I'm like, it looks like a good time for her though. You know what I mean? She's having fun with it. So I mean, yeah, it might not be you. That might not be why he's watching it or she's watching it. You know what I mean? And like you said, most of it is.
It's about myself.
But I'm not you. Generally, I'm saying you.
They're like, wait a minute,
whatever. But
she protests too much.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be that way, like for that reason, I should say. It's just, it is entertainment, the same way we sit and watch movies about serial killers with no desire to be a serial killer or to have one in our lives. I think porn can work the same way. You know what I mean? I think, even with how we talked about the distorted thinking, it's the same thing. It's like people kill people, not guns killing people. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing.
Very true.
Porn is not helping, but the fact that people don't know how to be intimate, don't know how to respect their partners enough to say, hey, what do you like? What pleases you? That's not porn's fault. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, it is. I'm kidding.
No, I mean, it's not. So, again, I have no idea how to sit your kid down and explain to them how to be sexually intimate appropriately. But I do think that's the bigger issue, that people are not sitting down with themselves, with their children, with their partners, and talking about what appropriate intimacy looks like. You know what I mean? Or just having the confidence to say, hey, I don't like this, or I would like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Even if you can't sit down and talk about sex, can you instill that confidence for them to be able to speak up for themselves, to say, hey, I don't like that, or that doesn't feel good to me. Let me try something else. So I think that's the bigger issue than porn. Porn is just another piece of the dysfunctional puzzle.
Well, I mean, if I had girls, I probably, I know I would. I'd say some shit to them. I'm like, look, man, but I have boys, 3 boys. My oldest is 15. And I hope to God he's not.
Your boys are not exempt.
I be checking them phones. I be checking them phones.
Do you think they can't clear their history?
But I will say, because my daughter actually learned what porn was from somebody else's phone at school.
They bring it.
That's where it happens. Other people.
I don't believe that my 12-year-old, like my 15-year-old, like my 12-year-old.
It's younger.
He'd be walking around.
It's 5th grade, 4th grade, dude.
Everything. I'm like,
D.
I had a first grader show his penis in class.
There were 4th graders drawing pornographic pictures of their classmates doing sex acts and then trying to photocopy it and distribute it around the school.
Wait,
what laughs?
What grade?
4th grade girls, and these were girls.
That's why I the bigger.
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you where it's at.
Let's say this. Hey, I haven't had to talk with my 12-year-old, which I should very soon, because he's, like I said, he's humping walls, he's humping everything, he's humping the world. But my 15-year-old, I've sit down and talk to him, like, of course, about sex and all that, but I've talked to him about porn, because I'm like, look, chances are you're gonna probably see it, and I need you to understand that shit is fake. And I didn't say shit to him, but I said, that is some fake stuff. Please don't believe the hype.
Did you ask him when he first saw it?
He said he's never watched porn. I can't. I just said, hey, if and when you do watch it, please know that it's not real. I was like, and when you do have a partner, male, female, whoever it is, whoever you decide, because, I keep telling him it's okay to be gay. So do your thing. Be you, boy. But anywho, I'm like, hey, please ask your partner what they want. Don't be afraid. Don't think because your friends have told you this, or you've seen stuff on pornography, or whatever have you, that you know what your partner wants and needs. I was like, just ask him. Of course, he was like, oh, Mom, why are you talking to me about this? I talked about it. I'm like, please stop talking to your dad about that. Please, trust me when I tell you.
Oh no! Sorry. Don't shame the man on podcast.
No. Listen to my podcast. Okay, I'm just kidding about that. But seriously, I do say, please, if you want to talk to your dad, fine, but also talk to me. I'm a woman. Like, I have a different perspective. So please come to both of us. Like, so yes.
I mean, you gotta think about your son thinking like, I don't want to come to my mama knowing that she's got people in her vagina. No, I don't want to ask about them kind of questions.
That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's probably the most gross thing he could possibly think of.
But I will say my 14-year-old too, my oldest is 21. She definitely was able to sit down with me, talk things through with me. She would even come home and tell me everything. My 14-year-old doesn't tell me anything, but we make jokes, right? Me and my oldest daughter, we make jokes all the time, sexual jokes all the time. And sometimes I look over at my 14-year-old, she's smiling, and I'm like, what are you smiling about? What do you know? What? Just tell me. Just tell me. But she will not open up to me whatsoever about what she knows. And I know she knows a lot. With the kids that she goes to school with, she definitely knows a lot. So
I think the second born is just always exposed to more quickly. But But yeah, let me make sure I hit every point. Okay, intimacy. Oh, okay. So the other thing, as far as like, cause it's, it's not always about the act of sex itself, right? That gets skewed. Again, it's like, cause, intimacy is not just about sex. It's about, there's intellectual intimacy, there's experiential intimacy, there's physical intimacy, emotional intimacy. Again, one thing just my observations is that, pornography tends to affect all of that, especially the emotional and the physical intimacy piece. Like, they don't understand, and I say they, and I'm saying men or women, but they don't understand that, like, a woman starts to get, I'm just gonna say hot bothered, ready, juiced up, all that stuff way before the act of sex, it starts way before that. It may start days before that, if they aren't feeling, loved and supported and, desired sometimes by you, they're not going to be apt to jump and, rip their clothes off and jump into sex with you. Right. And again, pornography paints, sex as, or how do I want to say this? Because it's not, because I'm thinking about Pornhub and they just have those mini clips that just show sex. But I'm talking about like the pornography that quote unquote tells a story, right? And I feel like that story is just very skewed as to what it takes to get a woman hot and ready and raring to go, and then move into the sex piece. Do you guys know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
It goes from head to poking. That's what you mean. That's what you mean.
Technically, that's how most videos start. They're either in there already or she's giving them head. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. That's why soft porn is geared towards women. It's a different feel, different course of action. But
it's, and it starts in the mind, like they want to feel, I'm going to say we want to feel loved, and supported, and, that we can trust you, that you're loyal. We don't want the male person that shows up at the door with the big dick and sorry, that's just what I remember from porn. Like, hey, or the plumber, hey, you need something fixed, you need me to pipe something, I don't know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's all false, it's all fake, it's all acting, like none of it's real. Like, I'm asking people to step outside of what you see in pornography. Realize that it's not real, it's acting, it's not a good depiction, even what you were saying earlier about the squirting, like it's all fake. Please know that there are things happening behind the scenes that are giving you a false representation of what sex is, what it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, what you're supposed to do during it. So talk to your partner. If your partner doesn't want you watching pornography, please don't feel like, they're trying to control my life. Listen to your partner. Maybe take a step back from it and see what could happen when pornography is not in your life and you're just focused on the two of you and learning, what works best as far as your sexual intimacy goes.
I feel like what also, on the other hand, that partner should also be like, okay, well, I want to understand what it is that you're feeling when you're watching this or going through this. I want to know, like, why you're watching this. If we can watch it together, if this would help you, like, I feel like it's not always just the person that's addicted that needs to take a step. Well, I guess not addicted, but the person that's watching needs to take a step back. Well, we can probably even do this together. And if you guys both understand that this way isn't working for me, and this way isn't working for you, maybe you guys just don't need to be together. And I feel like a lot of people don't need to be together and they stay together for no reason. Don't know why.
What everybody's giving out? Like, wow.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't have these, a lot of times we're getting into relationships and we're moving too fast, and this is just the world that we're in right now. We're not taking time to get to know each other. We're not taking time to see what it is that each other like, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why once we get into this, we're already 3 months, 4 months in, and then we're arguing that you're watching porn in this corner while I'm right over here and you're not even asking me for anything. It's because y'all never talked about what it is that you wanted. Nobody ever discussed any of this stuff. You didn't even know he was watching porn. You didn't even think it was a thing. So I just feel like, we need, man, communication.
Oh my goodness. That's one word I use constantly with my couples is communication. Communication. You're getting tired of me talking about communication. I know I need to wrap things up, but I just want to say to your point, absolutely, like, communication is huge. But I do want to say that, like, I don't quite understand being in a relationship and still needing to masturbate in the corner with porn. I'm just going to throw that out there. Like, I don't understand why you're not getting it from your partner. Like, why you're not.
So, from your therapeutic perspective.
No, that's not therapeutic.
No. But let's put on your therapy hat. Yeah, girl. You would be curious. You would be curious and you would approach that person from a place of curiosity instead of like, this needs to be stopped or judgment. It's what is special about this? What feelings does this bring up for you? Because, and they might not have the answer right away, but it's something that they should probably start asking and exploring. And then who knows, maybe they can find ways to bring those feelings and find those feelings in other avenues besides porn. But really, it starts from a place of curiosity.
I'd also like to say, I think, and I'm going to say as women, because we are clearly in the minority of the porn watchers.
According to the
not to take it so personal. So, like, in my adulthood, I've only really had like 3 long-term partners, and they all watch porn. But I feel like they all watch porn for different reasons. So one watched it for, as I was trying to say earlier, for work purposes. He was a dancer. That was his prep. And I did not know him to watch porn outside of it. He didn't want to talk dirty or anything else. He was like, that's work, and I'll leave it there.
Can you clarify what kind of dancer for our viewers? Is it?
He was a male exotic dancer.
Some people might be like, "Oh,
shaking that thing, knee swinging,"
Now that is a good point that you're bringing up. Is that male exotic dancers probably lean on pornography a whole lot to be able to get hard and go out and do their jobs.
Because nothing, you know what I mean? They get it ready and they go on. Then I had another partner who, my personal opinion is, even though I was always ready and willing, I feel like his deal with porn and masturbation was, I just want a nut right now. I don't want to caress and kiss and love on you. I want to get my nut and I want to go back to work. You know what I mean? I want to get my nut and I go to sleep. So it wasn't, again, anything personal with me. It was like, I just don't want to put in the work right now. But I do want that nut, but I don't want to put in the work right now. So I'm going to jack off and go on. And the third person that comes to mind, I just assume he watches a lot of porn because he shares a lot of porn. It's like, hey, I want to try this. And he'll send me a clip like, I'm waiting on it. Like, what we trying this time, And that was his relationship with porn. He didn't try to hide it. It's like, hey, I saw this and can we do this? And, I go, okay, yeah. Or like, okay, it's getting strange. I don't want that. So, I mean, but either way, it's like I have never personally run into it where it's like, okay, this is an issue. You know what I mean? So I think, again, if you kind of take yourself out of the equation, thinking that it has something to do with you and what you're not doing or not giving, it may be, you know what I mean? Just totally unrelated to anything detrimental. It might just be his thing for whatever reason, ideas or.
Yeah, I think that is a good point of like the idea piece, like that is true. Some people do watch for ideas, like.
Yeah. I think if women didn't get so up in arms about it, it wouldn't be an issue as often as it is. But I think we are afraid of porn addiction.
Mm-hmm.
We are afraid that it's an indication that he's not satisfied with us or there's something else that he wants. And probably more often than not, it has nothing to do with us.
Mm. Women get up in arms, but I mean, that's it. Up in arms. Just saying.
Because I'm saying for the women that are, like you said, they'll say he's addicted to porn. And when you further assess it, it's like, okay, he watched porn fairly regularly, but there's no addiction. You know what I mean? But in her head, you're watching it way more than you need to when you got a warm-bodied woman over here. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by up in arms. Like, yeah, maybe if you just ask, like, hey, like she said, what do you get out of porn? Why you watch it so much? Or, whatever he could say, like, yeah, I don't. Like, you look good, but I don't want to put in that work right now. My back hurt. I've been at work all day.
You look good, but that is true. Some guys are just lazy. They're just lazy. I would rather.
I'm just gonna put it out there, lazy. The man that I have in mind. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I believe he was just lazy. I don't think it had anything to do with me. I lazy as a fool. Okay.
Very true. And I know I did say I was gonna start wrapping it up, but
hey Kaz, would you want to do an infographic on the website about the difference or distinction between porn addiction and porn use?
Absolutely.
That would be.
And I also put some of the amazing, awesome stats on there too. Does anybody have any final words? Or, like I said before, this is part 1 of Let's Talk About Porn. Part 1. The next one will be an awesome group of gentlemen who all have different perspectives of porn. Some feel like it just shouldn't be done, but they do it. Some feel like, it's a part of their everyday routine and they thoroughly enjoy it. So, any final thoughts, ladies?
So why is it not a combined conversation?
As much as some guys are just like very talkative about it, they still don't always feel 100% comfortable talking about it in front of a panel of females for whatever reason.
That's very interesting. And I think it's kind of telling about what Sonda was saying earlier about partners being able to have intimate conversations to give each other feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely feel like if we all grown adults, we all having sex, we all watching porn, we should all be able to sit down and have this kind of conversation. It's not embarrassing. There's nothing wrong with it.
A lot of people, it's funny, like a lot of, even though there's quite a bit of use, just like you saw with the stats, a lot of people just don't feel like, because I asked probably like 30 men and about 20 something were like, nope, I don't feel comfortable talking about that on air. Like, is this going to be air? Is it going to be no, it's not video. Oh, it's just audio. No, I don't feel comfortable. And I'm like, but you always talking about like you always talking about sex or porn, but it's just like, I don't know, is putting it out there. It's just like they feel like there's still a stigma on it.
Because it is.
It is.
Don't appreciate porn watching. But, I will say what has worked for me, porn aside, is I am a person, if I feel like I'm likely to have sex with someone, I just go ahead and put it out there. And I say, what are your turn-ons? What are your turn-offs? And whether they ask me or not, I answer the same questions. And I do that well before we get to the sex. Like, I don't give you opportunity to fumble around on me or to pound town me, and I have to like tell you, ouch, and no thank you. Like I'll go ahead and let you know up front that that doesn't work for me. So that you know what I mean. And I think that for me has made, even if the sex is not great, it has made for more pleasant experiences, even with first time partners. You know what I mean? Just kind of putting that out there up front, what you do and don't like.
Absolutely. So the key word of today is communication. Just communicate. Communicate with your partner. I appreciate you ladies coming through as always, cause you are.
You know what you didn't do? You didn't introduce us.
I know that was on purpose.
What? Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
I'm fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being introduced.
It seemed like only the men were scared.
Yeah, it seems like that. Yeah.
Ladies, introduce yourselves then.
We not being accused of being porn addicted.
I mean, yeah.
Shay, would you like
you know what else I like to say?
Because
I was introduced to porn very young too. Not like, but I was only 11. And I will say it did not skew me towards porn, but my friends, I've always been called a freak. And I'm like, I have the most vanilla sex in the world. Like, I don't have a lot of partners, but I will say that is because that porn did trigger something, but I wanted to read everything about sex. I didn't necessarily want to watch it, but it's like, well, what was that? You know what I mean? It's like anything that's even semi-sexual. I was looking it up, researching, you know? So, yeah, even when I was a young, naive virgin, I wasn't that naive. It was like, I haven't done it, but I know what it is.
That was based on porn. But that was based on porn.
No, I'm saying porn is what piqued my interest. Like,
yeah, it awakens something in you.
That's what I'm saying.
You
seeing it that young.
Yeah, you become a teenager and things awaken in you. You watch porn. That's a different situation right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you want to say who you are before we head off?
No, I'm good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm say I'm fine.
Nah. As always, cuz, thank you. You are an amazing host. Ladies, beautiful, amazing guests. Thank you for coming through. I really appreciate you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can we sit in on the guys with our camera off and just
actually what I want to do is can we do a part 3? Maybe we can lure them for that's what I was thinking.
Actually, that might
that would work. That might be great. I feel that.
Yeah. There's like you can have up to 8, and I think so far there's maybe like 3 or 4 guys, and you and I 4. So yeah, I think that would be, and yeah, turn your camera. But they might be like, what is that? What are those other black boxes?
We'll put on our man voice. It's just me.
Hey.
Truly not.
Hey.
And you type your name in, don't you?
Well,
you can type the name in.
But it was just a letter. It was just
Dude, I think they'll know.
That would be a naughty, but I'm down for it. Okay. So everybody, thank you for tuning in. As usual, hope everybody has a beautiful, beautiful week. Take care of yourselves. Keyword communication. Okay, night.
Night.
Good night.